Okay, good morning, good afternoon to those of you on the West Coast. We're going to get started in just 1 minute. Good morning, good afternoon to those of you on the West Coast. Thanks so much for joining this edition of Dev Office Hours, where we feature our product management and development teams on topics of interest to you. My name is Michelle Dakota, and I'm Product Manager for Customer Programs here at Tableau. Today, we welcome Rahul Motwani, Product Manager for Server Admin Tools, with Part 1 of Dev Office Hours on this topic. We'll have Part 2 on this topic, Server Admin Tools, next week. You can find details on the forums, and we will email all of the attendees with details on next week's topics as well. With that, I'll turn things over to Rahul and his team on Server Admin Tools. Thanks, Rahul.
Thanks, Michelle. Hello, everyone on the webinar. My name is Rahul, and I'm a product manager with Tableau. I'm pretty involved with some of our open source server admin tools available on our forum, community site, as well as on GitHub. So today I wanted to walk you through a quick overview of why we are developing some of these tools, and also share with you some of the user benefits of 3 of our tool sets that we will be discussing in this session today. I'm joined today by 3 developers for these tools. So on the call today, we have Ravi Krishnamaneni, who is a senior software engineer, and he's responsible for the TabJolt tool. I have Yunus Gradneru, who is a senior software engineer for the Scout tool. And then I have Umapati Mani, who is a senior software engineer for Replayer. So here is a quick agenda of what we will be discussing today. I'll quickly walk you through what the Tableau tools is all about and why we developed them. I'll also inform you about the support levels for each of these tools. And then we'll dive into each of the tools, and the developers will give you a quick summary. And after that, we will open it up to Q&A from the users on the community. So why Tableau tools? Some quick reasons for why we developed these tools. Firstly, as most of you are aware, that Tableau is and can be quite a complex product to kind of set up and administer. And we realize that there is a varied need of customers that are using Tableau Server out there. So we also wanted to use this opportunity to share some tools that we have used extensively in our internal environments to not only test some of the server environments that we have, but we also wanted to highlight some of the customer benefits of using these tools that we have observed. Next, we also wanted to take this opportunity to help you understand and discover some of the best tools for your scenarios. We firmly believe in the principle of self-service here at Tableau, so we wanted to use this opportunity to give you some tools that will enable you on this self-service analytics journey that you all are on with us. And lastly, but not the least, we also want to showcase the power of data and Tableau, because a lot of these tools use Tableau as their mechanism for displaying workbooks. And it kind of aligns really nicely with one of our values of using our own products. So just a quick blurb or kind of an introduction into our tools. You can find most of these tools on our tableau.com site. A link to that is over here. And you can see that displayed on this web page. You can see that we have categorized them into sections on these on the website.
I'm going to fix something really quick on your screen. So I want to, sorry to interrupt. Where's the webinar? There, perfect. So I want to pin it here. Okay. I think this is good. Pin on Michelle. Okay, I think we're good. Thanks, guys.
So support for most of these tools fall under two categories. They're either community supported or Tableau supported. As the name suggests, Tableau supported means that these tools are supported by a Tableau support organization, and you can call in with support requests. Community supported basically means in a gist that these tools are not officially supported by Tableau support. However, all of us involved with these tool sets at Tableau are deeply engaged with customers via our GitHub issues site as well as our community site. So if you do have issues when you set up these tools or when using these tools, please reach out to us on these forums and we will be happy to get you unblocked and set up. For more information about each of these support levels and categories, I have linked in the slide deck that will be shared with you later. You can look at each of these support categories and as well as what it means. And of course, I've also put into the slide deck a link to our server administration community forum where you can go and post questions regarding any of these tools. With that, we're going to dive into the next section and start with Ravi, who's going to talk to you about TabJolt.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ravi, and I am one of the developers working on Tools team. We develop TabJolt. So primarily, we developed TabJolt for in-house use first. We started it as a performance regression catching tool. So we use it on a daily basis inside Tableau to catch any performance build to build. We use it for stress testing. We also use this tool for our capacity planning exercise for our online deployments or for public deployments, and also giving some guidance to customers on white papers. For example, for 10.5, we just published a white paper that gives some guidance on capacity planning. So how can customers use it? Customers will also use the same tool just like us for mainly two scenarios. For number one, upgrade scenario. Let's say you are upgrading from version 1 to version V next. So you can test it out in your lab to make sure that for your scenario, the topology that you have or the deployment that you have can scale with the number of users that you have. Make sure there is no degradation in performance. That's one scenario. And number two, let's say you are getting more users getting onboarded. You want to make sure they still have optimal and great experience, and you want to make sure the topology that you have still gives a good performance. So let's say you want to add a worker, make sure things are still working okay, or maybe a downgrade, or maybe go to a different hardware, just make sure things are okay. So in all these cases, you can use TabJolt to do your load testing and make sure that server is performing optimally. So whenever you run the tool, you will get a lot of metrics such as average load times for the views and how is your server doing in terms of CPU utilization, memory utilization, and other host of JMX counters. So we uploaded this tool to GitHub, and there's a good guide on good getting started guide. It's a simple use tool. There is an installer for it. Within few minutes, you should be able to up and running and load testing against your own server. Now, I'm gonna transfer to
Hi, my name is Ionuț Grădinaru, and I'm a senior software engineer here at Tableau, mainly working on Scout, which is the first of the user acceptance and performance validation tools that we're going to present. So a couple of things about Scout. Scout is auto scenario performance and user acceptance testing. So it will discover the data on your server, and it will execute workbook loads and interactions with the workbooks. And during this, it will record performance metrics. It will record if there was any error. It's going to save screenshots. It's going to capture performance metrics from inside Tableau Server, and you can easily take a look at them to see how your server behaves. The advantage of Scout is that it's agnostic to the data on the server. So again, you point to the server, it discovers the data and just runs there. There's two ways of running the tool. You can run as user acceptance testing. You just point it to the server and then tell it to run one iteration. And then you're going to look at the results to see if there were errors, if workbooks are loaded properly, and maybe you did an upgrade to a SQL server and you want to see if the workbooks that are based on the data source are still working, or somebody modified a table. And if you have a data source that's based on the table, you're going to see an error. And these are things that are easily caught with Scout. Also, you could run it to see slow workbooks, and you can do A/B comparison for both user acceptance. Let's say somebody makes some permission changes in the DB, and you want to see that between run A and run B, did anything change from user acceptance point of view. The tool is very easy to use, has a lot of options. You can point it to online, you can point it to on-prem, runs even against public. There's more information about it on the community portal. The first link there is where you download it from, also where you can interact with us. You can report issues to us or ask for help or feature requests. With that, I'm gonna transfer you to my friend Uma, who's gonna talk about the second tool in the user acceptance and performance category.
Hello, my name is Uma Patimani. I've been at Tableau for 4 years, and this is one of my main projects that I worked on that I really love to work. It's called Replayer. How does Replayer replace real-world traffic that you can use for user acceptance and performance testing. So unlike TabJolt and Scout, this uses the real traffic. So Scout and TabJolt is more synthetic traffic, but Replayer is real traffic. How does it work? So when users interact with Tableau wizards, that is opening a wiz, interacting on a wiz, all that information gets recorded in the Tableau Server logs. We take the log, if you take the log and process it with LogShark, we can rebuild the traffic and play it back. We can play the traffic back to the server with same contents. So you can use this for testing your upgrade scenario. So you can play the traffic before the upgrade and after the upgrade. See if your performance has improved. That's similar to TabJolt. You could do topology changes and then verify if you still see a better performance. And say you make some data source changes and you're worried if some of the wizards using those data source would still work. You can use Replay to find out if during the A/B comparison, if everything is still working. Another thing that you could use Replayer is for capacity planning. That is, you can use your real load and multiply that to see if your Tableau server can handle more load. Say, for example, your organization has 100 people using Tableau server, and you want to expand it to 150. So you can take the real traffic, say from 9 to 5, and multiply it by 1.5 and play it back on the Tableau server and see if your Tableau server can still handle it. Another thing that you could use Replayer is for troubleshooting issues. If users hit performance issue or any errors, you can basically replay the traffic for the time period and then see if you can reproduce and fix them. Rahul, next slide, please. Here is where you can find the tool, and we have used it internally, and hope you can download and benefit it as much as we did. And like the other two tools, this is also community supported. Rahul?
Yes. Give me 1 second.
Thanks so much. While he's getting set up, please do feel free to use either the chat or the Q&A function to send in questions for the team. We'll get to those questions just shortly.
It's showing up on my screen.
Okay, so thanks a lot, Ravi, Uma, and Yunus for that quick overview. This slide deck will be shared with you after we complete these office hours, but just to let you know, we have a quick summary of each of the tools that we will be discussing today, as well as in the second office hours that's scheduled for next Tuesday at the same time. So this information is there in the slide deck for you. It kind of goes through what we've already discussed, and it also tells you what the prereqs are, and it has a bunch of resource links for each of the tool sets. So with that, I wanted to thank each of the developers and open it up for question and answers from the community.
Great, and we've got a couple of questions that have come in just while you were speaking. The first was, are all these tools free to use?
So yeah, these tools are free to use. They're available either for download via our community site in the links that I showed you, or on our GitHub site. So if you go to Tableau's GitHub site, you should see all the open source tools that we have released over there for you to use. Great.
And then someone's asking, what's the difference between Replayer and recording the performance in Tableau?
Uma, do you wanna take a stab at that one?
So Replayer plays back the traffic. Recording the performance, that is something that you could do by using many other tools that Rahul can explain. We have other tools that we have for recording the performance. But Replayer has to generate the traffic.
They're asking about recording Tableau desktop.
Wait.
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please? Maybe we misunderstood. Reproduce all.
So yeah, one of the questions was the difference between Replayer and recording the performance in Tableau.
Yeah, so this is for recording the performance, we have other tools like TabMon, but for Replayer, but you still need to generate the traffic to measure performance. The generation of the traffic is what Replayer does. It provides the traffic that your Tableau server can see, and the recording mechanism you could use various other tools for measuring and recording.
So a follow-on question from a different person, but same topic. Does Replayer reproduce all traffic from logs, interactive use, and background scheduled refresh job execution?
Yeah. So yeah, this is a good question. So replayer plays back only the foreground traffic, that is users opening the viz and interacting with Tableau Server. The background tasks, jobs, those replayer doesn't play them back. Similar to other actions like publishing workbooks, adding sites, any kind of admin activities, those things replayer doesn't play back. It does not change the state of the Tableau server. Those actions it ignores.
Okay, and then a question still on replayer. Can we use replayer to enhance dashboard performance?
So for this, I would say Scout would be a better tool if you have a particular viz where you want to open it, make changes, and see how it performs when you load it back. I would say Scout would be a better tool if you're targeting a particular viz.
Okay, great. And how different is replayer from LogShark, which uses log files?
I can take a stab at that one. So replayer does use LogShark for extracting the events that it needs in order to replay it, but it's a very specific scenario that kind of just uses LogShark to generate the output. LogShark primarily is for sort of issue investigations and well as performance regressions that you want to investigate, and it covers a whole bunch of use cases across a bunch of different Tableau Server components, like SQL Server, the Apache plugin, we have the Server Resource Manager plugin. So Replay is one such use case for LogShark, where we have a specific Replay plugin that the output of which is being used by Replayer to replay the server session. Uma, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks.
Do any of these tools work with online?
So TabJolt right now doesn't. The public version of TabJolt, we don't support it for online. It's only supported for on-home, but something that we can look into in the future release. Scout, I believe.
Yeah, so yeah, Scout does work with online. You just need to provide it with the credentials for the server and then a site, because in online all the content is particular to a certain site. And Uma can.
Yeah, Replayer, the current version that's been published, we haven't used it on online environment, so I cannot answer that right now.
So yeah, to just add one more point on it, the TabJolt that we have internally, we have working version that works for online. We just haven't released it for public. So it's a little bit of work on us to make sure it's in a clean shape to release it to public. But yeah, we can.
Thanks, guys. And then we've got a comment here, which was someone was interested in a demo, a practical demo of some of these tools, and maybe we could consider that for the next webinar. So I'll just pass that along. Could we get an idea of the number of active users that are actually using Replayer, or any kind of estimate?
Well, we only time that it's in the community portal, and only when users report issues or come for help, that is when we can really know how many are who's using. But I actually cannot give a good estimate on number of customers that use Replayer right now. But I know who uses them based on the issues that they have brought.
Okay.
I just wanted to add to that Replayer was again one of the tools that we extensively used internally, and only when we saw the customer benefit of the tool we decided it would be a great addition to our portfolio of server admin tools that we already have out there. So I know that our tech support team uses this tool pretty extensively when a lot of you report issues with Tableau Server and we need to investigate them based on your logs. So if that's any vote of confidence, you should totally take us up on that, because we do use it extensively internally.
Great. And then we had a question again, are we going to send out the presentation? There were lots of useful links embedded there.
Yeah, I believe we will be sending out the deck out to everyone that is on this call.
It'll be posted on the forum.
And, and I'm also being reminded that it will be posted on the forums as well for you to consume.
And then over to the Q&A portion, do you have any tools to find data elements used in a workbook?
I might have to take that one offline and find out more. I think we do, but I don't want to give you incorrect information. So I will take that up as a follow-up, and I'll get back to you, and we'll figure out a way to.
We can post an answer on the forum.
Yeah, we can post an answer on the forum.
So we'll grab that one for follow-up. Here's another one. Do TabJolt and Replayer use a single user, or can the original users be used?
Yeah.
I don't know that I totally understand that question.
Ravi can answer about TabJolt.
Yeah, TabJolt,
Okay.
basically you can use it either in a single user mode, or say that, I want to hit server with say 100 users. You can specify users in a CSV file, and TabJolt is gonna grab those users and log into the server and generate traffic using those 100 users. So yeah, it can work in both cases.
So Replayer can be run as a single user session, that is opening the browser and then performing the actual actions that the user performed, or it could be used on by running. It also supports the multi-user scenario. That is, if your server saw 5 users at certain point interacting, Replayer can play the same traffic back. I believe we answered. Was it a follow-up?
But it is one user.
Oh yeah. So yeah.
It's
so
not the original user.
It uses a test account. So an admin in your organization needs to provide a test account that has access to the visitors, most of the visitors or all the visitors on your Tableau server, for Replayer to successfully open the viz and interact with them.
Okay, great. And then one of our customers asked if we could just briefly explain Scout and TabJolt once more. So maybe if you could give your kind of 1 or 2 liner descriptions of those 2 tools.
Yeah, so to kind of make it simple for Scout, I think as somebody who just goes on the server and finds what are the workbooks on the server and takes them one by one and opens them, kind of changes some filters and zooms in, zooms out, things that can be done on the content of the server and the state of the workbook open. And then it closes this workbook and goes to the next, takes each sheet and does not exactly the same thing, does same kind of operations. And at the end, it records performance metrics, timings, errors, and screenshots. And at the end, you have this workbook where you have all this information, and you can run it multiple times, and then you can do A/B comparison between the 2 runs. So the type of performance that you record there is user perceived performance. It's exactly as if a user goes in and kind of clicks around. It's gonna open, it's gonna open a browser and do all the operations in the Chrome browser. So that's the short description of Scout.
So for TabJolt, it's how you do your performance testing against your server. Let's say you want to hit your server with hundreds of users, simulate a lot of load on the server. Let's say you want to keep your server busy at 80% CPU or 70% CPU. you want to push your server to a certain level and see how it performs. So that's where you can use TabJolt to do some load testing and get some performance recordings, such as like what's the average load time for a given view, or let's say if there are 100 users that are hitting server simultaneously, how my server is doing, what is the CPU usage on the server, what's the memory usage, stuff like that. So it's more load testing pretty much. It uses Apache JMeter underneath, if you are familiar with it. So yeah, in a single line, that's what it does, load testing against Tableau Server.
Okay, and then we've got another general question. Are these tools production ready? Can we integrate them for use in clients' projects or production projects?
I would say yes and no. The ideal way, I think, for you to sort of vet or verify these tools would be maybe if you have sort of like a test or a staging environment, maybe kind of try them out on that environment to see if it is getting you the information that you need and it's set up the way that you need before you actually move it on to your production environment. But just to add to that, like we use these tools extensively on our internal environments that are sort of, they're pretty production facing for us from an internal perspective. So yeah, we do use them. But the best practice, I would say, is try it out on a test environment or a staging environment, and then kind of see what issues you come across. Maybe fix those, and then you're kind of primed and ready to go with your production environment.
And then we've got a question about software compatibility. Do all of these apps support 10.5 and SAML authentication?
Let me go first. So we're gonna release 10.5 version soon. Probably in a week or maybe a little more than a week. Release soon. We are making sure it works well against our Linux version. So that's the new thing that we are adding in TabJolt to make sure we can collect Linux counters, mostly useful one. So we'll release it soon.
So that's for TabJolt.
Okay.
Yeah, so for Replayer, it should take a few more months. We don't have a timeline on supporting 10.5, but we should be doing that in a few more months.
For Scout, we did release a new version, 1.2. We validated it works with 10.5, but it does not support SAML. So that's one thing that, based on the feedback on the portal, we know it's a user request, but we didn't get the time to work on that.
And then we've got a question. Is TabJolt limited to user interaction, or does it consider extracts also?
So the
extract runs
version only does loading the views and interacts with the views. Although we have some internal version that does extracts also, that's something we can consider releasing maybe in the next version if there is enough asks for it. So.
Okay, and then we had another customer interested in having demos of some of the tools, and so perhaps we can consider that for the next call, and we'll get back to you individually. Any other questions? I'm just checking. I think that we've answered everything on the Q&A and the chat that I saw. If you've got questions unanswered, please go ahead and use the chat functionality or the Q&A to send those in.
Did we miss any question? There was a last one question that just had a question mark.
I think there's just a little miscommunication on the chat. That was just a customer had asked if we could have had a more live demo.
I can reply to some questions that we got in the past. So for Scout, there's a couple of limitations that I can tell you about, even if there was no question. For now, Scout only works with Chrome. We didn't want with IE Firefox that we know that it can work because it uses a certain protocol that's supported there, but we do not support it yet. With Scout, I said that it discovers the content on the server, which would mean that theoretically it runs on everything you have on your server. But some people have a lot of data, so you can limit it per site, per project, or you can select top and views, either on an alphabetical point of view or the top and most used views on a site or on a project or on the whole server. Also, Scout can run against the Linux server, but it only runs on Windows. Yeah, so these are questions that in the past we got when we presented Scout to Tableau conference.
And then we do have another question that came in. Can I know which type of traffic Replayer will face on Tableau Server?
So yeah, I think we kind of answered this question before. Replayer replays user interactions. That is, user opening the Wiz and then performing interaction on the Wiz, moving from one tab to another, etc. Whatever they perform on a Tableau Wiz, those are the actions that Replayer can play back. There is backgrounder traffic, there is Wiz portal traffic, which is publishing the Wiz, deleting the Wizzes, upgrading, creating sites. Those traffic Replayer does not play back. So Replayer does not change, or any of these tools doesn't change the state of your Tableau server. So the previous question that Rahul answered, whether if this can be run on a production environment, I agree with Rahul that a test environment would be a better place to do an A/B comparison. But you can run it on your production environment. It won't hurt, other than adding more load to your production site. If you want to test it during the non-business hours, you can use these tools to run on your production environment.
Yeah, that's a great point that Uma brings up. Is these tools can be used on the production environment, but since they're around kind of generating load testing and kind of doing a little bit of the performance evaluation, they will add to the traffic on your production environment. So that's just one thing to be careful about.
And then we had a question about whether the team would be available if a customer had further questions. And so how do you make yourselves available?
So yeah, that's a great question. So once the deck is shared with you, it has the links. All these tools are, like I said, they're community supported tools. So feel free to post questions on the community site for Scout and Replayer. And TabJolt is available on GitHub. So if you go to the issues section on GitHub, you can post your questions there. And I know the team also actively monitors the community sites for any questions. So either or is a great place. And I know we're pretty dedicated to replying to our customers. So, we will turn around, within a couple of days.
And we'll also post the follow-up for those unanswered questions in the forums as well. So we'll just check in. I think we've gotten to just about everything. If you've got any last questions, go ahead and send those in. We'll get to those. Any last comments from the team?
No, well, we have used this internally and I've seen the benefits. So if customers can use it, we'll be really happy to add features. If you have feature requests, please let us know, and we will prioritize based on our backlog. Thanks.
We're really eager to get these tools out to all of you, to help you self-serve a lot of your issues that you have with Tableau Server. So please use them, and we're eagerly looking for customer feedback from all of you so that we can then enhance them and build sort of the next versions of these tools. So
thanks a lot for your time.
Okay. I'm just checking to make sure that we got to everything. I don't see anything else. So again, we will be here live next week, same time. Details will be posted on the forums. We'll chat with the group about what demos we could possibly make available, and we wanted to thank you very much for your time. We'll have more Dev Office Hours coming throughout the year as well, featuring topics of interest to you. So if you have suggestions, feel free to reach out and offer those suggestions for topics. We are booking up internally some of those different topics. We'll make that available to you on forums. So again, thanks for your time, and thanks so much to the team for sharing with your customer community.
Thank you.
Thanks.